Great. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We have a good agenda today, so look forward to hearing from you on all of the issues. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. The first item on our agenda is our mandate and terms of reference. And did everybody get a copy of the suggested changes to the mandate and terms of reference that was sent out? Okay, so questions, comments. The idea behind the update would be to clarify the terms and to ensure that when we go to the public, that they, when reading it, can clearly identify what the Seniors Advisory Committee stands for. And in the original
Hi, sorry, Donna. I'm not sure if others are hearing this. I lose your voice when you look down.
Okay.
So when you're looking at the screen, we can hear you fine, but your audio cuts out when you're reading down. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thanks for telling me. So on our original terms of reference, there was duplication in the mandate and the objectives. So this helps to clarify that too, so that we have a clear mandate, and then the objectives outline the stand or the items that the committee will work towards. And then annually, the committee, like we've been doing, will choose some area of focus that they will look at and work on for that year. So any comments from the group? Anne-Marie?
I can jump in. Let me know if I cut you off, Molly, if you were coming off mute there, if you had your hand up.
Okay, so, okay, Anne-Marie and then Molly.
So I thought it continues to give us a lot of room for the future term to kind of fit whatever we feel might be an opportunity or a strategy under the objectives. So I didn't think it was restrictive within the changes presented, if I'm looking at the version that was you sent out, Donna.
Yep.
The town hall meetings, we probably just need to talk more about logistics with those things, if they're virtual or if they're just us being present in the community. The other one is around the presentation by city staff and what's being done to support seniors. It'd be interesting to get city commentary on that. I mean, because we might just get, what's already going on around Parkview and programming and recreation. So is that more an intention of an orientation for the new term to kind of, if there's new members coming into this committee, having a good foundation of understanding for what's already there, what we might want to be amplifying or making sure we are drawing attention to those resources like property tax deferral for seniors and other pieces, just so there's some structure. So I think it's the how when we get under the town hall meetings, so we tie that to purpose. Could
I just clarify? Sorry to interrupt. The mandate and objectives is the first item that's on that sheet that I gave you. The second item are items that we would discuss with the communication officer who will be present.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were framing that as an intention to add it into the mandate.
No.
Okay, no, thank you, Donna.
I wanted to keep the mandate clean and clear. And then the other items on that sheet were meant for discussion today as separate issues.
So I'll hold those comments in case they do migrate to anything you want to deliberately put into the refreshed mandate. My only other comment around objectives, and this is carried from other conversations we might get into, but perhaps it's timely to mention it here. Should we see a change to the Spirit Catcher Award categories whereby we might have a senior identified? Perhaps a mandate could be considered that the role of this committee is actually actively submitting a nomination to make sure that there is a senior from the community represented that is maybe to our knowledge, and that we actively participate in making sure that there is a nomination put forward.
Okay. Molly?
It's only just occurred to me now, but do we have the right to change the terms of reference? Because it seems to me they were told to us initially.
We will be making a recommendation back to, I guess we report up to the Finance or Communication Committee.
City building.
City building, and we would make a recommendation back to make changes to it. And then they would look at the changes and determine if they would accept those or not.
Thank
So
you.
it's the same way we do motions, basically. When we do a motion, they go up to committee, and then the committee decides whether our motion will go through or not. Okay, any other comments? Okay. So maybe what we'll do before we, I'd like to make a recommendation for this to move to committee for review, but before we do that, I'd like to bring it back at the end of the meeting after we discuss communications, and then maybe if there is something we want to add to that mandate and terms of reference, we can do it at that time. Is that okay with everybody? All right. Okay. Well, we'd like to welcome now Scott to our meeting. And Scott, I'm not sure whether you're clear on what we had desired for you to come to the meeting to talk to us about. But basically, the committee is looking at a way of trying to promote the committee in the community. We have developed a card, and we have a screen that talks about the committee. And there's two things. We would like to be able to get out and talk to seniors in the committee and do it through some means. And we would also like to promote the committee. One of the things we had talked about was possibly having a town hall once or twice a year to get together with seniors and talk about seniors' concerns and seniors' needs. And so we needed some assistance from you to determine how we go about doing that. And we'd like your help in that regard. And then the committee can ask the necessary questions so we can try to find a way of coming up with a plan to become a part of the community as opposed to just sitting at a meeting every month.
Sure. Yeah, I think I heard that you wanted to do a town hall and you were trying to figure out if it was going to be in person or hybrid. I think it would be good to keep it a virtual component to it, even if you were in person. The thought, I think, in an email that I saw was looking at a location like Meridian Place to do a town hall. That would be difficult to make it a hybrid if we were going to be filming it at the same time. So if you were going to do that, I'd recommend it be, somewhere like City Hall, where you pick a meeting room maybe, and then we can involve our IT department to make sure that it's filmed and streamed to YouTube, just like this meeting is right now. So that would be the best way to go about doing that. And then we could definitely help promote it and get it out there in This Week in Barrie, and using all of our other communication tools to promote it, and then encourage people to come out to it and learn more about the committee. And also, it'd be good at that point to also educate people on what the committee is here for and how you can help out and that sort of thing. So I think.
So how do we initiate something like that? What are the steps?
So I guess the first step would be to pick a date, and we can just or look around where dates what you were hoping to have this, and then we can go back and see if there's meeting rooms available and see if somebody's available from our IT department. So if we start by booking the date, and then once you've got that picked out, then I can help with the communication of it and promote it through our channels.
Perfect. So I guess we were sort of thinking about Seniors Month and maybe doing it twice a year. Is that still feasible? Is that still something that you could help us with?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. Seniors Month is perfect. June, I believe, right?
Right, and then there's a National Seniors Day in October.
Perfect.
So,
the perfect fit. So it's already being talked about in the community, so that it would be perfect to tag along on those two dates.
So another question was if we wanted to develop a survey so that we had some tool that we could get feedback from. I obtained a copy of the survey that Aurelia used. And so we have that as a sort of a guide. If we wanted to develop a survey, who would we work with in order to do that?
Yeah, you can work with me if you wanted to send me the questions that you had. We can create a survey, like a SurveyMonkey link for you guys to promote. We can do that for sure.
Okay. And then how far in advance from the event do you need notification?
I mean, I think that we should be promoting it maybe at least a month in advance to give people some. So if we pick the date, I mean, we've got lots of time now, so maybe we can action that right away and try to pick a date, and then start promoting it leading up to June, maybe even too, just because starting to tell people that June is Seniors Month coming up, and we're going to hold this town hall, and we invited people to come out and see what we get. Yeah.
Okay. Before I open it up to the committee, do you have any other comments that might be helpful for us?
No, I think it's good to get people's feedback for sure, to see how they would like maybe this committee to support them. It's a good time. I think I just heard you talking about your terms of reference and things like that. So maybe it is a good time to get the feel from the community on what they would. Maybe they don't even know about the committee first of all, and letting them know about it and how they might want to contribute to it. So I think it's good timing.
Perfect. Okay. So now, did anybody from the committee want to ask Scott any questions? Molly?
If we are talking about some kind of a virtual meeting, I would stress that we are trying to reach seniors, many of whom do not have computers.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And that's why I'm thinking it's a hybrid approach at this point, maybe, right? And even if I don't know, the Parkview Center, if there's a room that we can get there to have it, or at City Hall, finding a space where if people are comfortable and they want to come out to in person, there's that opportunity to do that. And then we can also have it virtual for people who aren't comfortable yet going in person. So I think that's yeah, because I definitely understand that not all seniors are going to want to get to and go online for this. So it's probably been a struggle with the pandemic with this right now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Getting people to join this, right?
Right. Do all of the community centers have the facility to be able to have it set up there? So like what I'm thinking is if we wanted to do Parkview or the City Hall in the spring and then do say Holly in the fall, is there an ability to do more than one community center or no?
It's a good question. I'll have to take it back to our IT team to just double check that. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
What's possible. I know we can do City Hall, obviously, but I don't know what the capabilities are like in other centers.
Yeah, that would help too, Molly, because then we would have more than one area of the city that people can access a meeting from. And
Yes.
that would help us to get more people to come and talk. Any other questions from the committee?
Just a comment about that IT piece. So in the past, we have run virtual programming out of Holly Community Center and some of our larger recreation centers. So yeah, we would need to make sure first that the IT can support it. And those spaces, when we have done it, those virtual programs, they've kind of taken over some of that. Heather knows what I'm talking about because she did some programming virtually out of the main, the multi-purpose room at Holly. It takes over half the room. Now, we could perhaps make that a little bit smaller, perhaps. But just keep in mind the space, and if you're including more people, if you want more in person, that the virtual piece does kind of take some space, as well as the support of IT. So the logistics of it would need to be worked out. Here at Parkview, we are struggling currently and working on some of our Wi-Fi pieces. So I would not recommend it currently, but it will be improving over time. It's something we can certainly target for the future. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Scott, you could look into where the IT is applicable and what centers or where in the city, even the city hall. The other question that we had, does anybody else have a question for Scott on this? No? The other question that we had is there other ways that we can, other than the town hall, reach out to seniors so that they know who we are, like Barry Advance or other, can the city help us with other ways to promote the committee?
Yeah, I mean, as part of this, if you're doing this town hall, it's a perfect opportunity to do a media release at the same time, right? We would do a media release to all of our local media, get them to spread the word about the town hall, and at the same time, it's educating about the committee. So that would be how we would reach out to the media partners, I think. And I mean, I think being at the center, Parkview Center, and being visible there, if there's anything like a poster or something that you'd like us to help with, we can definitely do something like that to get something up in the Parkview Centers and reach the seniors where they are really. I mean, we could do some promotion on social media, but I don't know if that's maybe reaching the target audience that we're looking for. When we do a media release, we would definitely use our social media channels as well. But I think more so we're looking at like This Week in Barrie as a real good vehicle to reach people here, and maybe even print posters up around just to say, here's the city has a seniors advisory committee, and we'd like to hear from you. But I think you're on the right page with the survey, so that it kind of would all tie together. That we can promote the survey and maybe promote the town hall all at the same time.
Right. Now, I'm thinking about what Molly said, that there are people that don't use, there's a lot of seniors that surprising still don't use social media. So reaching them might be a little more difficult if we don't have alternative ways of doing it. That's great. Does anybody else have? Heather, go ahead.
Hi. Just thinking, a good way to be able to promote to maybe some of these people that wouldn't know would be to have something available to give to partner agencies like Red Cross, like CNIB, so that we could get it out to our people. So like a press release is good, but if there's, like you said, a poster would be great, because we could send that out or hand that out.
Or even just a rack card maybe or something,
Yeah,
like where people
can have a rack card. Yeah.
Okay.
We do have a rack card. We had it made up and we want to use it now. So
great. Oh, good.
Okay. Terrific. Anne-Marie, and then Heather.
When we talk about dates and locations, I used to be involved quite a lot around the Seniors Day that was held annually, usually through the current MPP. I know Doug Downey on October 1st, which is a Saturday. This year, I'm not sure if it's happening or not, but typically that would be very well attended, a couple hundred seniors. And sometimes the Barrie Family Health team would partner within that. So I wasn't sure if that would go through, because we're a committee of the city, if that would go through staff to outreach to MPP Downey to see if he's planning to hold, or, who knows, but we're in the middle of a provincial election, but at least to know if that's being planned. And if it is planned and all things considered, we look at a way in which we could be considered as speaking at that event on behalf of the committee. So often partners can have a table at those events and or have 5 or 10 minutes at the podium to talk a bit about the mandate and use it as an engagement tool. So I'm not sure, maybe after June 2nd, maybe it's an outreach to see if that type of engagement would still occur on October the 1st, and maybe for us to see if we wanted to secure that, then who would be available on a Saturday when we get towards the fall.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think maybe the chair of the committee could reach out. It doesn't necessarily have to be a city person. I think that would make most sense if the chair of the committee reached out to inquire about that.
Okay.
And then my other kind of comment or question is, should space be a challenge? I've had the benefit of going through the local Legion, and they've done quite a lot of renovations through a Trillium grant. I believe they would have updated technology. And so I'm just mentioning that because should that be a viable space, they've got a really great upstairs and they are actually launching new programming. So it could be something in June if our space is maybe not as large to fit numbers. Maybe that could be an outreach to see if there's a partnership where we're bringing in people on a day that they're serving lunch, and maybe we wouldn't have to pay or would pay less for a space, or maybe we could look at a partnership approach to an event that also benefits them so it doesn't come at a cost.
Okay. Good alternatives.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, we'll keep those alternatives in place. And then once we decide on a date, we can check with Scott to see if there is a facility available. If not, then we'll look at step 2, which would be outreach to one of these. The Doug Downey one might be a good outreach just to have in addition to our town hall meeting. The other thing, Scott, I'm not sure if the committee wanted to have a table at the summer market. Is that something that we have to ask somebody about, the one downtown? I don't know what we need to do in order to get approval for something like that.
Yeah, I think you would reach out to the Barrie Farmers Market directly. Yeah, the city's not really involved in that, but yeah.
Okay. So I guess we just need to find out, like, we are a committee, but we don't really have decision-making power. Anne-Marie, maybe you could help me with that. What authority do we have to reach out to these other organizations, or do we?
I think it's probably keeping Brandy informed as a city staff connected to the committee, and then as chair of the committee, just confirming that, especially if we're connecting with elected officials, there's just an awareness of that. So I think it's just for information, and then I would expect there's no issue with that, Donna, within your leadership role with the committee.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have another comment or question? Heather?
Question for Scott regarding your recommendation on a survey. Just from your point of view, without trying to get too far into the weeds of discussion, how many questions, what would be your recommendation on scope for a survey that would be of value for this committee?
I think it's better to keep it brief. Between 2 and 5 minutes is probably, I mean, even you don't want to go too much more. So, and ask questions that are relevant to you and you really, that you want to know. So try to, keep your scope, I guess. So I would say maybe between 10, like no more than 15 questions, I guess. Yeah, being brief is always better.
Thank you.
No
Thanks.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Scott. That was very helpful. And once the committee sorts out a date, we'll be in touch with you for your help to coordinate.
Perfect. And I will look into with IT to see which facilities could handle some sort of virtual event.
Great. Oh, wait a minute. Anne-Marie has another
Quick question to put you on the spot, Scott,
Yeah.
but not to necessarily answer now. I know there's lots going on in June with Psycho Week and Pollinator Week. And so I didn't know too, if you had an awareness with your team about some dates we'd want to try and align to or stay away from so we wouldn't lose our message. So I didn't know if you had a bit more of a oversight in general activities.
It's a busy month, and especially coming out of restrictions, and I think there'll be more things happening for sure. So I'll take a look back and see if there's. I mean, maybe the best thing to do too is just to suggest a few dates, and we can always go back to our calendar to just to make sure that and like to your point, it might be hard to avoid because there's just so much happening right in June. So maybe if we had a few options, and we can go back and see how they all fit in.
Thanks. That's great.
Okay.
I just thought about one other place, and that's what I want, the library. Anything that happens at the library, who approves that, or who would we ask?
Well, we have a contact over at the Barrie Library, and that I could definitely put you in touch with somebody over there if you were hoping to hold it over there.
Okay.
Yep.
probably wouldn't have enough space, but it might be good to have one in between some major events. Molly? You had a
It
question?
is, yes, it has occurred to me that the advance is no longer delivered to every resident in town. And perhaps we should also consider retirement homes, seniors' homes. I know the one in which I live has a newsletter that goes out to every resident, and that is always kept up with events, and I think this would be a particularly good one. I certainly could get that in there, but there are a lot of seniors' residences around that I think would be the ones to particularly target as well.
So a poster or some kind of communication tool would be a good thing to put in those.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good suggestion. Well, I
Yeah,
think
and-
from hearing everything, we're going to have to put the plan together. And we'll.
Well, that's nice because if you have those connections, Molly, because if we provide you with you know, like a simple like maybe the media release or something, some of the wording, and you could send that off to somebody in the building that could get that into the newsletter, that would be super helpful, because you might have those contacts. So yeah, if we could lean on you for that, that'd be great.
Thank you.
That's great. Lots of great ideas. Thank you so much, everybody. Wonderful. Thank you again, Scott. We look forward to talking to you again.
You're welcome. Good luck with everything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, the next thing we had on our topic, which was part of what we talked to Scott about, was the monthly town hall and picking a date. One thing I would suggest is that when we're done, what I'll do is I'll put together all of the ideas that were talked about today in a plan, and then send it out to everybody so you're aware of all the things that we can do. I think one of the important things, though, is to get the town hall looked at and the questions. So if we were to have a town hall in June for Seniors Month, does anybody have a suggestion on a date? The election being at the beginning of the month, we might be better off to go towards the middle to the end of the month. Any suggestions on a date? Molly?
I would suggest avoiding a weekend because grandchildren often visit on weekends, and that takes up the grandparents' time.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
No, that's a good suggestion.
I'm just
Heather,
wondering if your dates might get chosen for you based on what venues are available in size. So is it maybe first looking at what Scott and the city can come back with around availability for later in June?
We could let him know that we want it late in June, and then he can confirm what dates might be available. Is there a time of day that's better? Like I was thinking a Thursday would be good because that's free bus day in Barrie for seniors. So if the seniors are having a difficulty getting, you know, to and from, at least Thursday, they wouldn't have to bear the burden of paying for a bus ride.
It'd be a nice message to add to the posters, right? If you're getting information out to say it's free
Yeah.
transit day.
Okay, so maybe we could get Brandy to email back and request that Mike look into the end of June and possibly a Thursday to see what day would be a good one, what date, so that we could start planning that event. And for how long will we need? How many, 1-2 hours? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I recommend a shorter time, like a 1 and a 1.5 hour.
Okay.
And either late morning or early afternoon seems to be the most popular times for scheduling.
So maybe what he could do is whatever time frame we want to book, book a 2-hour time frame, because we need time to set up, and then we would need time for the meeting and time to take down or put things. So open up a 2-hour bracket, but the meeting only be an hour. Molly, you had a comment.
I would suggest a late morning rather than early afternoon, because a lot of seniors take naps in the early afternoon.
Okay. All right. So Brandy, we're looking at Mike helping us find a date towards the end of June, on a Thursday if possible, late morning, and the Thursday because of free transportation, and to book a 2-hour time frame for setup for the meeting and then for cleaning up afterwards. Does that sound right to everybody? And then the fall date, we can maybe in June at our June meeting, or our first meeting in, this is going to be a difficult year because of the elections, right? So
Yeah, typically I think most do that type of outreach for seniors. So my assumption would be, even if we saw a change in the individual, that might be something that's still done as a community engagement piece.
Okay.
At least that I've seen in the past. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to outreach now to say, all things considered, are you even planning an October 1st Seniors Day for perhaps Doug Downey? And then depending on the outcome after June the 2nd, if it's a different individual we're working with, reaching out at that point in time.
Okay, so maybe Brandy, on our June meeting, you could put an agenda item for a fall town hall. Because by then, if we've had our town hall, we'll know how well it went, and then we can improve on it for the fall one, which would work out really good. Yeah, okay, perfect. Did you get everything that we were sort of rushed through that, Brandy? Did you get everything there? Great.
Yeah, so I will send an email to communications to find out about the date, the potential timing for late morning on the Thursday, and the 2-hour block.
Right.
And I'll put that on the June agenda for the fall town hall.
Yeah. And then if he could get back to us by our April meeting, because we don't have a meeting in June. I mean, we don't have a meeting in May. And so in April, we're going to have to put together basically what we want to do for this meeting, so we can start getting prepared for it. So if he could get back to us for that April meeting, that would be really great. So if you could put that on an agenda item for follow-up on April, that would be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe before we do nominating a seniors or caregiver of the year, or maybe we should talk about that and go to Anne Marie about possibly adding that to our mandate for the committee. So Anne Marie, could you give us a little more information on your thoughts on putting that in the mandate?
Sure. So it's kind of two-part. I looked at what Aurelia and I believe Wasaga Beach is doing, they nominate a senior of the year for their respective municipality. I thought that would be a beautiful opportunity for us to consider. Based on our interactions with seniors in our community, we'd probably have a good knowledge base and outreach to be able to identify someone who's making an impact and needs some recognition. Like Molly, who was integral in getting us a free transit day. So you're welcome. Thank you, Molly. So there's an opportunity for us to kind of say, is this something we want to run and drive and incorporate into our mandate? While I was kind of having that conversation, Deputy Mayor Barry Ward reminded me that we have a youth category in the Spirit Catcher process, but we don't have a senior category. And so perhaps a dovetail could be that we look at saying, well, does it fit in that process? And would we recommend that the city have that Spirit Catcher committee actually create its own category for a senior? That's one piece. The second piece could be knowing that that is a potential. What is our role as a committee to actively nominate someone and make sure that we have one or more individuals that are kind of recognized through that process. So that's just some ideas I thought aligned well to our mandate and our work, and could kind of round out some of our objectives with some recognition. Oh, sorry, Donna, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
We're having a hard time hearing you.
Annually, if we're doing town halls, then that's a good place to actually collect that information and collate it for making that recommendation. So, Molly?
That's a great point, Donna. Yeah, we could have a nomination format present there.
Molly, did you have a comment?
Yes. I don't know about anybody else on the committee, but I wouldn't have the faintest idea of anybody to nominate, because I really don't know all the good work that so many seniors do. And I think that might be a challenge.
I wonder, Molly, if I could build on that to say, how could we use our forums to have people stand up and recognize a friend, a neighbor, or what they're doing? So do we have a sharing opportunity to say, you're here out of interest for seniors' well-being and wellness and changes you want to see, but let's also take a moment and we invite you now to stand up and share, what are you doing in your community that we might not know about? Who's in the room? And that could be a really beautiful social engagement piece, but it also could allow us as a committee or others to say, that's amazing. I would love to nominate you. Could we have a coffee and could I learn more about you? So I think that is a place where we could have really nice conversation.
I think that's a great idea.
And if we're having other events that tie into the seniors committee, that would be a good place. Now, the only question I would ask Anne-Marie, and you probably could answer this, is generally when you have a nomination, you have some form of criteria that is documented for people so that if they are selecting someone, that they meet the criteria of the award. And someone would have to determine that.
So we could review as a committee, if you're interested, the Spirit Catcher nomination form that's public facing, and then identify what constitutes a senior. Is there an age limit, or is there anything nuanced we want to kind of adapt into the general form? We can also look at the form, I believe that's publicly posted on Wasaga and Aurelia, or we can request those.
Okay. So should we as a committee make a recommendation that the city investigate establishing a senior caregiver of the year award, or senior of the, well, there, I don't know what you want to title it, but we recommend as a committee that they look into establishing an annual award for a senior caregiver.
And I would almost say it doesn't necessarily have to be a caregiver. So maybe that's another conversation. It could just be a senior, but it could be someone recognized for caregiving. It could be someone recognized for volunteering in other ways. Right. But it's tied, that one I spoke to was tied more to the Spirit Catcher process, which is annual.
Okay. So,
Lucia has her hand up.
Molly,
yes, thank you. I wasn't sure if that was visible or not. I think it's an excellent idea. I'm really excited about it. I was wondering what the role could be for this committee, either maybe helping in the selection of it, or actually, just simply getting the word out about it. I think it's an awesome idea. I just wanted to say that. I thought for some reason we had that, or maybe there has been something like a senior award in the past. Maybe it's been around senior talent or some other kind of senior recognition, but I think it would be great for this group to spearhead that. And then I would just have a question sort of around managing our own expectations of what we're envisioning this committee really to be. I know this is in terms of our mandate and we've talked about it a lot, but when we have the forum in June, what are we expecting that to bring to us? Like, how are we expecting that seniors will be engaging with us more on a regular basis, that they'll come to us with issues? So what are we hoping for once we do establish that? Thank you.
I think there's a number of things. Number one, we need to let the community know the committee exists. And because I've talked to some people and they don't know what the committee does. And the other thing, the authority the committee has, the committee doesn't really have authority per se. It can make recommendations. So I think people need to know the limitations of the committee. But most of all, to get input from people as to what their main concerns are. So the committee, when it establishes its annual goals and objectives to meet seniors' needs in the committee, it can have a guideline from seniors in the committee so that we know what everybody in Barrie, the seniors in Barrie want, as opposed to trying to establish that ourselves. So it's more to be in tune with the needs and the desires of the seniors in Barrie.
So what would be the best way to get that on a regular basis, the easiest way for people to feel, hey, I can reach out and call this number, I know it goes directly to the committee, or does it need to be vetted and go through some other kind of process?
Well, that's a good comment. I think that if people get to know that there is a committee, and if they get to know who the committee members are, then they will see us in the community and can talk to us. Now, in order for them to reach us, that was another thing I was going to talk about. I know that Aurelia has their own seniors section on the website, which we don't have. We have to go through Barrie, and then we're more aligned on the website with the age-friendly plan as opposed to the seniors committee being a seniors committee. And that would be one thing I would like to see more clearly defined on the website. And we had talked as a committee, and the others can help me with this, last year about getting an email where we can pick up questions, queries from people. But at that time, it was felt that we should go through the service number for people to make inquiries. So there's really no direct contact with us other than the fact that the website says that if someone wants to attend our meetings, they can do that. And we've had 2 people who have done that. But then when they bring us issues, we can refer them, but we can't, as a committee, rule or do anything about their issue. We can refer them to someone in the city to get some assistance. So I think part of the issue stems from the fact that we are an advisory committee. We are not a decision-making committee who can rule on something. So we can advise the city and then they would make a decision on that. So I think it's more to start to get to know the community and to hear back from them. And I don't think that's going to be an overnight process. I think that's going to take time. Comments from anyone? Gwen and then Heather.
Gwen, you're on mute.
We couldn't hear you, Gwen. Come off mute.
We're not getting you by phone either, Gwen.
No.
Gwen indicated that she was having audio issues with her computer. So we can see her, but she is on the phone.
Brandy, can you send her a note to unmute? And
I
sometimes
did.
that'll prompt. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I did. I think she's.
Okay, why don't we let
She's on the phone now.
Gwen try to come on, and then we'll let Heather talk right now, and then we'll wait for Gwen to connect, okay? All right, Heather, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, just a comment. There has been both of those awards in the past. provided. There's been a Senior of the Year award that was awarded for many years. There was also, and that award was specific for community service, public service, social connections, and contributions, significant contributions to the community in various ways. And then there, in addition, or very separate from that, there was an ongoing talent award awarded to a talented senior. It was a competition that was held at City Hall for several years, and then it grew, and it went to the South Shore Community Center, had a sponsorship. That was very different. That's a talent award, much like any of those talent awards. I think it was called Senior Star, and it morphed into something bigger, in that whoever won that award went on to a national award through a service organization. So that was different, and I would not recommend that. That's a much bigger type of thing. Just looking at the Spirit Catcher Award, there are 2 categories in it, and I do think that it aligns well with this, or with what we're trying to achieve. So I would recommend that we, going forward, use current mechanisms, since we don't have a clear mechanism for people to reach us, that using something or tagging onto something that, like the Spirit Catcher Award, provides those parameters and those mechanisms for people to reach out. It's already existing procedures, so it's easy just to add another. It would be easier than recreating something completely new, or revise something from a long time ago. So that's just my recommendation to the group, but certainly it's the group's decision as to how to proceed with that.
We have Gwen on the phone. Molly's got her hand up as well.
Okay, Gwen, go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to say that we do a monthly newsletter to our CARP members. So any event we're holding, we can advertise it in our newsletter too for the SAC committee. And I started to talk before about how do they contact us. I feel that we actually need to come up with either an email or a direct phone number or a message system of some kind. Because otherwise, especially since we've had COVID, they don't know about us. They don't know what we do. They don't know how to contact us. I just feel we actually have to provide them with something. Just my thought.
I would agree. Okay, Molly, and then Anne Marie.
I was wondering, are we mentioned on 211?
I think 211 might be able to tell them, but 211 is a service that I'm not sure we could find out if we would be something they would put on their service. But again, we would have to find out from the city if we can set up a separate email or separate phone contact, okay, or have a contact of some sort.
Even 211 would have to have a contact.
Yes, exactly.
The
So
other,
Anne Marie, you go. Maybe you might be able to help us on this. How would we go about looking at? Would it be through Scott as media contact, or because right now we have to go through Service Berry? If someone has a question for Service Berry, that's what they do. They don't ever make contact with us.
I think that's maybe a broader conversation through Brandy with staff then as to whose workload will that fall to. If you're looking at a dedicated resource with a dedicated email and phone number, 1, to be responsive, and then 2, is there something that's not working about if people call into Service Berry and have questions about seniors? Is it more about programming and it goes to different departments or rec facilities, or is it actually a question for the committee? So I would say 211, I would question if that would be a good landing spot versus the city, because we don't have a structure around us as a committee that can support starting to ask people to navigate to us in that route. So I think it would probably need more conversation if you're looking at marketing this committee in a particular way.
That might be something that once we do the town halls, we might get more feedback on. It might be something that, we could ask as one of our questions. If you had a concern, who would you address it to? The SAC committee, the city, we could have that part of the questionnaire. And then once we know how people want to contact us, it might give us a better idea of establishing a contact.
Donna?
Yeah, go ahead, Gwen.
I was just going to say, maybe we could have a sub-email for our committee under the city. With CARP, we have our Barry CARP email, but I have a sub one underneath that for our seniors community fund. And it's just a sub email that works off the original. So maybe there's something we could have with the city where there is a sub email that could reach us under seniors or whatever.
I think it goes back to Anne Marie's point about who becomes responsible for answering and responding to those emails. And that's something we have to think about, because they would have to provide a city person. And I don't know how that would happen. So maybe, again, we go back.
Wouldn't it be us? Wouldn't it be you, Donna?
Well,
that sub email?
If the email came to me, I could bring the emails back to the committee, but I don't have authority to answer those questions. I would then have to bring it back to the committee, and the committee make recommendations for answers and then come up with a response. So it depends on what the person is asking. I don't have a problem with doing something like that, but then again, from that would be for 4 years. And then if it changes, you're changing the person responsible. I think it's best if we ask Brandy to go back and investigate the possibility of the committee having an email where emails can be sent to the committee.
Copy.
And then find out if that's a possibility, first of all.
I'll find that out.
Yeah. I think we put that on our April meeting, and then you can come back and let us know if that is possible. I know that we did ask that once before, and that was the issue. Who's responding? Who's going to answer the emails? Do they have a staff person that can look after it? And it would have to be a City of Barrie email. Well, Brandy can look into it, and then we can see. And then, like when we do the town halls, we'll get more information about what people really want to see. And I think more people want a face-to-face, to be honest with you. But let's proceed in that direction. Okay. Gwen, did you have something else you wanted to say, or are you okay there?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Molly?
Getting back to the town hall, excuse me. This is very rudimentary, but I'm thinking of a town hall situation in which I participated some years ago. And I was the one designated to wander around with a clipboard, asking attendees the question, what would you like to see seniors having or helping or whatever? It sounds very rudimentary, but in that case it worked. Mm-hmm. It's just a suggestion.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
Donna?
Yes.
Sorry, it's Lucy again. Sorry.
Sorry, can't see you when you have your hand up. So thank you for speaking.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. I hate to keep bouncing back and forth.
No, that's great.
I'm still on the spirit catcher thing, because I know we're not, it is an inclusive award. It doesn't say seniors can't apply for it. And I noticed for quite a few times seniors have won it. And there are the two different categories, the outstanding contributor and the local hero. And I think the local hero sort of leans a little more towards, you know, people who do a lot of volunteer work and so forth. And I think that really applies oftentimes to seniors. Is there any sort of, if we're considering it further, how would we develop the criteria for the senior? But also, is there any drawback to creating a separate category for a senior? Because, I mean, we want to be inclusive. Does it have any sort of negative side to it by saying a senior has to be separated? Because they could certainly fit into any of these categories. Just a thought for discussion.
Say Marie.
Or is it a case of we need to promote the Senior Catcher Award more among seniors? Just wondering.
Anne-Marie,
Yeah.
did you?
I was gonna say, well, great comments, great comments. So for me, it was more around, we could basically just say we like the way it is, and we just want to encourage seniors to get nominated. In addition to the outstanding contributor and the local hero, there's a youth spirit catcher award. And so sometimes when I see youth, I also kind of see, you know, we do, I believe, have many nominations. And so I guess the only benefit would be it gives one more opportunity for someone who's doing amazing work to get recognized, and to make sure that's maybe someone that is scoped to what are they continuing to contribute to the community in a way that might not be business related or otherwise seen. Yeah, so we could say we're just happy with what's there. We could also say, you know, there's other ones where on, I think, the seniors date every year, I think WSEGA does that specifically, it's a specific senior award. So I would kind of encourage to give this committee maybe something more formal to put a spotlight on a senior, to either add it to the Spirit Catcher Award or say, no, we want to drive a process separate and apart, but we do want to put a spotlight on seniors and contributions to the community. And to Heather's point, I think I saw the Spirit Catcher because we will automatically fold into great communications and advertising without having to do that as a separate effort. But great comments, Lucia. I'm not beholden to one way or another, but I would love to see us move in some direction where we can put a spotlight on a senior.
Could we also reach out to Royal Victoria Hospital, to the food bank, to the police, different organizations to recommend somebody?
I think anything's possible. I know if it's tied to the Spirit Catcher, it gets a lot of marketing.
Yes,
And it's a familiar process, so people know to watch for it. There's an award at council. It actually gives an opportunity. So maybe even a member of this committee could be presenting the senior award at council when it's identified, and just have a member of this committee participating more actively into city programming.
What
That
if
sounds
the
great.
senior, sorry to interrupt,
Hey,
what if the senior award, what if the senior award came specifically from this group? That we were, okay, you're nodding your head, that's great, Emery. I think it could have a different sort of profile. I think it's great to tie it into the Spirit Catcher, but I think it could really stand alone as well, and maybe develop its own sort of bigger profile. Just starting to let the wheels turn on it.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm thinking that maybe we need to be in touch with the seniors through the town hall and get some feedback from seniors before we establish being a part of an award, because maybe once we get some feedback from seniors, it might give us a better idea of how we can set up something to recognize them. I mean, I agree with Anne-Marie, the Spirit Catcher is a great suggestion, but we might, as we're engaging with seniors, come up with different other ideas on how to recognize seniors in the committee. And whether you have a category or whether you have senior of the month, or whether you have different, like working senior versus, non-working senior, there's all different ways that we could look at doing an award. The only thing I would suggest is that what Anne Maria is saying does give us a lot of attention and will bring some attention to the committee. So it might be a good thing to be involved in as a start. And then maybe later on, we might want to take a look at some other recognition for seniors in another way. Heather?
I was just going to say, I really do like the idea of attaching to the spirit catcher, because it's easy. It's something that we can do, like I said, with lots of advertising, lots of already established tie-ins. And I'm just thinking, especially as a start, that would be a good thing for our committee, because I don't know that we want to get into creating something brand new when, let's be real, our term is ending at the end of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the next committee may not want to go in that direction. So in my opinion, I think that tying onto the Spirit Catcher Award now would probably get us further faster.
Okay, I'd like to propose that we make a motion that we recommend to the city to look into a senior award as a part of the Spirit Catcher Award that is issued. So I'd like to make that proposal and like to ask the committee to vote on whether they would agree with that.
I agree, Gwen.
I agree.
Okay. So let's, Brandy, can you come up with the wording that we would use appropriately to recommend to the city that it investigate adding a seniors award to the annual, Spirit Catcher Award. Is that the proper wording?
And maybe consult with the Seniors Advisory Committee on the criteria.
Perfect.
And you were right. I think it goes up through finance and corporate services and then to city.
Right. Okay.
So I'll get that wording together and then I'll send it out to you.
Okay. So once you put the wording together, then we'll need it on our April. When does the award presented, Anne Marie?
I'll look at the link, but the next finance committee meeting is April 26th. So I'm assuming, Brandy, we would hit that agenda and then it would go to at least general committee before the June break, before end of June.
That would
get
be my
this through
understanding, yeah.
council before summer.
Okay.
And I'll take a minute and take a look at the Spirit Catcher one. I've sent a bunch of links through to you, Donna and Brandy, to maybe circulate to the collective group at your convenience that gives criteria for the Wasaga Beach, the Spirit Catcher, and then the Provincial Seniors Award, so we can get a sense of different criteria.
Okay.
The other comment back to Lucia too and Heather, if I may, on the topic of moving it forward. One thing that we could do after we find out when it launches is if we get a lot of nominees for that category, my recollection, and I could be completely incorrect, is that we're really only highlighting the individual that wins. We don't spend a lot of time spotlighting all the nominees. So again, on the ease of the effort that goes into a nomination is quite a bit. Not, I think, a detriment to the process, but you get a lot of really rich information. What we could do is actually build in the process of our mandate. So while someone gets the award for senior Spirit Catcher, and perhaps a member of our committee can present that award and talk about the individual, maybe we'll look at the calendar, but maybe during the next process for Seniors Month, we actually put a spotlight of the individuals that were nominated, and we take the time at our town hall to open with recognition and see if they can attend and actually have the community celebrating them, because sometimes there's a lot of really great stuff happening and it's much more than the one person that gets the award. So maybe that could be something that's already there and ready for us to just take and celebrate.
Love the idea.
Okay.
Anne Marie,
I also see on here, Oh, sorry. I just was looking under awards, and the person you contact for the Spirit Catcher Award is Lisa Welland, Supervisor Administrative Support Services. Should we talk to them?
Yeah, we can go
Yeah.
directly to there through staff. Brandy.
Fortunately, Lisa's no longer with the city. She had retired some months ago.
Could we maybe look at then an update to that level and then ask about who the contact would be and if the process is going to run in 2022?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think once we find out if our request is approved, then we can move forward in getting more information. So everybody is in agreement that we will send that on to the Finance Committee to look
Yep.
into. Okay.
Donna,
Thank
it's
you.
Lucia. I
Yes.
am in agreement. I'm in agreement. I just do have a question because we wouldn't want to have any of our seniors precluded from the original categories. So maybe it requires kind of looking at that second category a bit, because then it's kind of a lot of categories. I would just sort of be concerned if someone was nominated specifically for the seniors only because of their age, right? So we just wanted to be careful about that. So the criteria really needs to be considered seriously. Thank you.
Okay. So Brandy, if you could send out the wording for the motion, then if anybody has a major concern with the wording, then they could get back to us. Okay. Great. Okay, so if we could go back to our mandate in terms of reference. So on that sheet that I sent you, item 1, with the changes for the mandate and the objectives, can we have a discussion on whether the committee agrees with those changes?
I thought I printed it off, but
It simplifies it because like the original one had duplication between the mandate and the objectives, and it was to clarify it. And also, Anne Marie, maybe you could answer this. With the age-friendly plan, do you know if you've heard anything about continuing staff working on it? Because there's still some issues on that haven't been resolved.
I don't have a response to that. I'm not sure if that went through Brandy to the clerk.
Sorry, can I get you to repeat that? You kind of went quiet on me.
Yeah.
Sorry,
So
we're
when
just
is-
the age-friendly plan. We're not sure if it was going to be looked after.
I honestly still have not heard back. It's still my understanding that there is not a continuation in the age-friendly plan through the city at this point. So I did send off that request and haven't heard back.
So part of changing the mandate is to not tie the committee strictly to looking after the age-friendly plan, because that is not part of the committee's responsibility. But it does tie the committee to making recommendations or bringing up issues about things on the age-friendly plan. So it doesn't totally disconnect us, but it doesn't make us the sole responsible individual in that. Yeah. So I need your assistance to determine whether we take this and send it off to the Finance Committee and recommend updating our terms.
Is there an edited version so we can see this in the context of the broader terms of reference that's being proposed to Finance Committee? I'm just seeing the 2 paragraphs around mandate and objectives, but
Right. So the original one I sent out as an attachment with this, did you get a copy of that?
I did. I've got the action plan and the survey and the 4 documents that came to the last one. I just didn't know for line of sight if we're approving something to go forward, if everyone's clear about what that looks like as a final piece.
Yeah, so I had sent out a copy of the original terms of reference to everybody so that they could compare this to that.
Yes.
Everybody should have had that. Would it be easier if I read it?
Is that the survey content, Donna?
Well, I sent out recommendations for change to there was a memo from me on a Word document.
Yeah.
Okay, for this meeting, items to be reviewed for this meeting. And then I had sent out previously a copy of the Seniors Advisory Committee terms of reference for everybody who doesn't have a copy or can't find their copy, so that they could compare the two. Oh, I might as well just explain. The
Can't hear you.
mandate was to represent and provide advice to the seniors to.
Can't hear you, Donna.
Okay. Our original mandate, for example, was to represent and provide advice on Barrie seniors' perspectives of municipal matters relating to seniors housing, transportation, communication, and civic participation. So what that I'm changing that to, or what the group of us that met to discuss it decided would be clearer, is to to change that to wording to say, to provide advice on matters relating to seniors which impact municipal matters for the city of Barrie. So it's just clear. And then the objectives already contain seniors housing, transportation, communication, and civic participation as part of the objectives. So since it was already in the objectives, you really didn't need it as your mandate. So then in the mandate, rather than running the words all together, I put them as points. We put them as points so that they would be clear, but maintained basically the same information, only as in point form, which is clearer.
So
Okay.
my only comment under objectives, if we're serious about the town hall, is to perhaps be clear with the next term that we want to see that town hall continues. So perhaps that third bullet you have to develop a work plan annually, maybe that can be extended for consideration to state to develop a work plan annually inclusive of a city supported town hall. That way you are getting an awareness that this is something that staff might be pulled into to support, be it communications or helping to find space and logistics.
Okay. Now the item that we were talking about, an annual seniors award, we could add a bullet point that says to recognize seniors in the community. We could just make it to recognize seniors in the community and leave it that way, that we then could develop the means by which we want to do that recognition. So if you want to have some form of recognition to seniors in the community, you could make a bullet point that says that. And then
it leaves us room to say if the city does not support a seniors category, then do we want to revisit and talk about our own award for seniors annually and make that a spotlight approach?
Right. So I could add that as a point. So what I can do is I can put this on a separate sheet, send it out to everybody, and if there's agreement on this wording and the 2 additional comments, then we can request that Brandy send it up to committee, because they're meeting April the 27th, did you say? April 20, end of the month. Does that work for everybody?
Donna, just as an additional point, and I don't know that we could do this, but what about fighting ageism? I'm getting a lot of stories lately from seniors who are fighting what they call ageism, whether it's health problems or in the workplace. And I just wondered if there was any room for including something like that.
I wonder if we position for maybe dedicated space on the website or a little bit of a bolstering of that space if it becomes an area where we can link to information that's out there.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure, but it is definitely a problem.
Yeah, that could become, when we send set our annual objectives as a committee that relate to services and things that are occurring in the community, like housing, transportation, civic participation. It doesn't mean that we can't, as a committee, set an objective to review concerns about ageism. And one of the ways that we would do it as a committee would be to look at engaging speakers that could give us information about how that occurs in the community, and then making a recommendation back to the city in that regard of something that might be helpful to prevent it from happening within the city. So,
yeah, we could do a virtual speaker if it doesn't come at a cost, and then make sure that is recorded and becomes available as a resource, or even at a town hall. But there is interesting research around if you prime someone negatively around their age or an ageist reference, that what can happen around falls risk, or how people might feel more vulnerable or hesitant. And so we can talk about the impacts of ageism from a research, but also around how do we think about ourselves as we age, and how do we reframe that as some of our as we experience changes along the way. But we could add that into an always event, right? Around what are we providing as part of our communications?
Right. And then that could be something that maybe we could, as a committee, work with the rec centers to promote, having speakers or having individuals come in to talk to seniors about it, because you need people or individuals that can help them to know how to deal with it and how to react to it in a way that doesn't affect them personally. And sometimes it's taking it personally as opposed to it actually being meant that way. So maybe that's something we could recommend to the city, that they design something for businesses on, or in the community, on how to treat seniors in a respectful manner. So it's a part of being.
Sorry,
so
Dawn.
that's something that we as a committee can make a recommendation back to the city on.
Yeah. There was a program, I believe it was in Bala, where they put a little blue umbrella, or a sign of a blue umbrella, in the storefronts, where they were basically saying, if you're a senior, we'll take care of you.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. There was an alignment, I think, to the Alzheimer's Society around dementia-friendly communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe
so
we could.
Okay.
Maybe we could just promote.
Yeah. Anne-Marie, if you want to finish, and then Molly.
Well, maybe that's a broader conversation. I'm wondering, is that you, Gwen, that's commenting, or Lucia? I'm just seeing a phone number, but I wasn't sure which one it was. I thought it was Gwen.
It's Gwen.
Yes. But I'm wondering about if that's even an Alzheimer's Society conversation about what the program is, and then maybe an outreach to the BIA. So our Downtown Barrie Business Association and others, and our business center, we can actually look at how do we promote and provide this information around how to interact with individuals that might just present themselves differently, be it communication or an aggressive behavior or frustration. And sometimes it's just knowing how to interact and ask questions or rephrasing things so you can assist someone who might not be able to communicate well with you in that moment in time.
I think it would be a wonderful program, especially since our population, the seniors, are going to be growing in the next 10 years.
We could do an outreach for a presentation if people want more information about that, and then have a broader conversation to say, how do we promote this through the city to our business community?
Okay. Molly, did you have another comment?
Yes, I did. Rather than a speaker, I would recommend a panel of speakers who have been subjected to ageism, and it can come in a variety of forms, as we all know, and explain how they have been subjected to ageism, and maybe go from there as to how solutions can be found.
Right. And if we do town halls, that is something that we could look at as a drawing, like to put on the agenda for the town hall is to have a presentation like that and have individuals come to the town hall that could talk about the issue and then get feedback from the seniors. So that's a great way to actually in a town hall present some issues to individuals as part of a committee, which then gives us a little more credence as a committee because people think that we are concerned about seniors' issues and willing to do something. So
Yes.
may I suggest that we put that on our September agenda, ageism, and bring it forward as a topic that maybe we can look at if we do have a town hall in the fall, that maybe we could look at maybe putting that on as an agenda item on the town hall. Anne-Marie?
Donna, I'm wondering if it's moving to the fall, it could also be an offering you give to the local MPP if they do the Seniors Day, is to partner with our committee and our committee help to kind of formalize a panel as part of their agenda for the day. You might have a broader audience just because of people's familiarity, sorry about that, and about other resources that might also be in the room if they're having kind of a seniors fair. So it might also help to kind of already include people that might be tied to resources that are present at that day.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that would give us time to look into what would be available.
Donna, sorry, Donna, it's Lucia.
Go ahead.
Just when we do seek out a speaker, if we can make sure that there's also a component or a separate speaker even that speaks to ageism for younger people as well. I think we really need to look at ageism in a broader way.
I'm sorry, how do you mean ageism for younger people?
Oh, ageism also affects younger people, how they experience discrimination based on how others treat them because they're younger. So it really has two sides to the coin.
Well, we'll look into it and then we can see the individual with the major focus on seniors, and then speaking to the other forms of ageism that affect the community would be good in the discussion. That to show seniors that they're not alone, that it does happen in other spectrums. So, but it would be our major focus would be seniors. So that would be a good suggestion, Lucia, because whoever's speaking could speak to the other forms of ageism. And there are a lot, and it's quite prevalent. In fact, if you go onto the World Health Organization's website, you will see that the #1 form of racism in the world is ageism.
Yeah.
So that is an important issue, and thank you for bringing it up, Gwen. Okay, so now we can just go around and if there's no other comments on that, so we'll get that out to you this at the end of today, and then you can take a look at it. So look for it in your email first thing end of today or tomorrow, and then get back to us as quickly as possible so Brandy can send it off to the Finance Committee. Any other comments on those issues before we go around and see how everybody's been doing? So maybe Lucia, since you're on the phone, can you give us an update on what's been happening in your area of the world?
It's Lucia, I'm not on the phone, but the person on the phone, I don't know, Brandy, if you're able to rename them, because I don't know who 743
It's Gwen.
is. Oh, that's Gwen on the phone?
Yeah,
okay,
that's
I thought
Gwen.
we had someone else on the phone before. Okay.
No, it was still Gwen. She was having issues with her laptop with the audio, so she had called in so she could speak.
Yeah, so I'm sort of wondering too, because there's sort of limited offerings on how we interact here, like the chat is disabled. Is that something that we're not allowed to have? I'm just curious.
My understanding is that the chat portion was enabled.
Okay, because it is helpful, like if we have a question and we can't get through, it's just, I find it really helpful to have.
Well,
So-
there is the raise the hand. If you push raise the hand, let me see if I can see you.
Oh, I know I've been using raise the hand, but you can't see it. So
Oh.
that's why I
Oh,
thought the
yeah.
chat is sort of a safe part of it. So sorry, just a quick update. We are looking at having an open house at some point in June for a new location on Collier Street, CNIB Smart Life Center. And we're currently looking for a new technology lead for our center because our fairly newly acquired technology lead is getting a lovely promotion to the Toronto office, which is where he lives, 6 minutes down the street. So I would say go for that. If you can walk there in 6 minutes, that's beautiful, as opposed to driving into Barrie every day. So this is a good thing for him and opens up an opportunity for someone maybe who lives more locally. So we're on the lookout, and the posting should be coming up very, very soon. Otherwise, we're not open yet in person to seniors programs or client programs, but stay tuned. Hopefully in the next month or so, we'll know more. That's it from CNIB for now. We are doing the community consultations still. If you know a senior who wants to have their say, there are some virtual options as well as an online survey they can take. Thank you.
So you don't have an exact date for your open house yet?
No, we just started talking about it last week. I have a meeting coming up. I'll know soon.
And what's the exact address on Collier Street? That
It's
gonna-
90 Collier, Unit 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let us know when you're gonna open and we'll come visit you.
That would be nice. I will invite you. For
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, Molly, do you have anything to update us on?
Thank you. No, life is still very boring. We are still
Okay.
suffering. We are still suffering from COVID. And in our building particularly, we have had to, of course, stop all activities, and that is having a disastrous effect on people's mental issues, but we hope to start them again soon.
Heather Stone?
Hello. Not really anything new to share with Red Cross. We're still businesses as usual with pandemic procedures. Meals on Wheels is going strong. Friendly phone calls are going strong. We are somewhat limited in our transportation. We've limited to essential trips only, which I know has been rough for people, but that's kind of in line with the resources that we have available right now. I'm hoping that will change soon, but at the moment, that's what's happening. And friendly visiting is still on hold as well.
Okay. Heather Keenan?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, the 55 plus centers at Allendale Recreation Center and Parkview Center are both open and welcoming members and new members every day. We have lots of active programming going on and lots of social programming. We align with the City of Barrie recreation protocols around COVID. So currently that is full participation, very few barriers. We add in enhanced cleaning in our facilities, but just like with all facilities, masks are optional and there's no social distancing. So it feels and looks a lot like pre-COVID programming. And most of our programs have returned. There are a few that have yet to be returned. So just check the website as they keep coming on board, and we'll have more social and recreational programming added this spring. And so just keep an eye on that. I think that's all that I have. But if there's any questions, folks can reach out to either Parkview or Allendale Recreation Centers. Give us a call. There's somebody available 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, Monday to Friday. And at Allendale, those hours are extended. So there's always somebody available who can answer the phone calls and give information and invite you in. And just come and check us out and grab a newsletter and a calendar, talk to our friendly staff and find out what wonderful programs we have available.
Great. Thank you very much. Gwen?
We're still working on our Seniors Community Fund, looking for both donors and recipients. I'm hoping to have an article in the very advanced in the near future. I think Chris Simon might interview a couple of our recipients. Really hard to get the word out because they're not on social media and they don't even appear to read the paper, because we had NAD in the very advanced February 24th and I only got one call from a possible recipient. Meanwhile, we are handing out money for lifts, hearing aids, groceries, clothing, towards wheelchairs, etc. And of course, we need to continue to find donations because we are only at halfway to our $25,000 mark. But still working on that. Sent out emails to all the churches in the area. Haven't had any response, but we'll try and get some students to donate some hours to do follow-up calls. And I did a housing panel last Tuesday with the NDP on all the problems on housing, which we all know is at the top of everybody's list these days, especially talking about co-housing and the need for that in lieu of long-term care. And yeah, just staying busy. And I guess that's it.
Thanks, Gwen. Great. One last comment. If everybody could, before the next meeting, go through the copy of the survey that questions that I sent you from Aurelia, and just take a look at them and see if any of the questions on there would be suitable for a questionnaire that we might want to develop for our June town hall. And maybe write down any other questions that you feel might be good questions to ask, but it's a good starting point. And then that would help to give us a bit of a guide for starting to look at an agenda and what we're going to do at the town hall. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the comments. Great meeting. We'll talk to you. Oh, Anne-Marie, did you have a last comment?
I had some updates, if I may.
Oh,
Maybe there, sorry, just for a couple of points of information. No, it's good. But I won't be long. So one, especially talking about ageism and some of those assumptions made about older adults, wouldn't it be great if our seniors advisory committee was involved in biking the night? So the active transportation group is getting organized for September 17th. The rain date's the following Saturday. More information will be coming soon, but if you're around, I will be at the City of Barrie's first Bike the Night event, and it's supporting active transportation and getting families out. We're tying it to Open Air Dunlop, and we're trying to activate individuals. Part of that might also be having a city bus there to show people how to rack their bike, but also maybe there's a way in which, if you've got an opinion as a seniors advisory committee, to say, well, we've got the bus there. Is there anything we need to be educating and informing about and assisting people with around some of the new technology? I'm not sure we'll have a bus with a lift system as an example, but there will be other opportunities there, and maybe even e-bikes. I've got a couple of colleagues that are going to bring their e-bikes to try, and they might actually set up a station for others to try it out. So the other piece is maybe a crossover, Communities in Bloom. It's a year of the garden. If we want to pick a boulevard or do a planting or have a spotlight, the judges are coming through this year. But that's another thing I would say, like, do we as a group want to get together in some way or kind of identify that we are contributing to other city programs of interest? And then lastly, I can't remember, Donna, if Melissa May has come to this committee, but on the topic of housing and co-housing, and I know Gwen and others have asked questions about some other developments that have kind of been on the burner outside of Barrie, more in Springwater. Melissa May has just become the new member from a health background. She's with Ontario Health. She usually represents the Barrie area. She does a lot tied to loft, seniors, transitions around housing supports. She has just joined the Simcoe County Affordable Housing Committee with myself. And we had a great kind of conversation about that. And she's got a wealth of information, especially with long-term care home announcements and others. It could be really timely to invite her to come and just share an update about what's happening tied to seniors and housing and other developments that we might soon hear some announcements about.
Okay. Sounds good. Yep. We've had Simcoe County come a couple of times, but we keep bringing them back because things keep changing. So that's a great recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, great. All right. So I guess, Brandy, we'll leave it up to you to see if you can email Melissa May or Anne-Marie, would you have her contact information?
I do. If the group is interested, then I'll send an email to Brandy connecting her with Melissa.
Okay, I think
Would you copy me, Gwen, please?
Sure, Gwen.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we'll look into the fall for a presentation. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you,
I know
Dawn.
we've thrown a lot at you and you're busy, but we really appreciate it. So thanks again, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody next meeting.
Great to see you all.
Okay.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody. Have a
and
great
thank you,
day.
Brandy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.